welcome to the Pharma Frontiers by OPPI. I am Asavari Sathe, your host. This is a very special moment for us, the inaugural episode of the Pharma Frontiers, launching in a landmark year as OPPI celebrates its Diamond Jubilee. For 60 years, OPPI has played a defining role in shaping India's healthcare and pharmaceutical landscape. From being the first association to represent the research-based pharmaceutical industry in the country to becoming a trusted voice for innovation, patient centricity, and policy advocacy, OPPI's journey has mirrored the evolution of modern healthcare in India. As we celebrate 60 years of impact, partnership, and progress, this series aims to spotlight the ideas, conversations, and collaborations that are shaping the future of healthcare. And what better way to begin this journey than with a conversation on building partnerships that truly deliver impact? Joining me today is a leader who brings a truly global perspective to this conversation, someone who has been at the forefront of driving innovation, collaboration, and purpose-led healthcare leadership. Mr. Bhushan Akshikar, President OPPI and Vice President and Managing Director, GlaxoSmithKline Pharmaceuticals Limited. Bhushan, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Bhushan, you've spent over 3 decades leading teams across various geographies and markets. How would you describe your journey?
First of all, it's a real pleasure to be a part of this series. Thank you very much for taking out time, Asavari. I think I've been remarkably fortunate to have been able to serve for more than 3 decades actually in the pharmaceutical industry. I always say for me to stay connected with the larger purpose, which is at the core of our industry, which is to make a difference to patients' lives, one patient at a time, one day at a time. That's at the core of the entire existence, not just for me, for multitudes of people who work in this industry. To the specific question that you asked me, I think a couple of things. One of my biggest takeaways with the 3+ decades that I've spent in this industry across geographies, countries, disease does not differentiate. Regardless of the socioeconomics, the geography, the issues that patients, healthcare practitioners, caregivers have to go through are pretty similar across all countries and all geographies. I think the healthcare systems that are set up in each country may vary in terms of how they are organized. Your modes of reimbursement may vary, but I think at the core of it, every single healthcare practitioner, every single stakeholder involved in that value chain has got only one single objective, which is to improve treatment outcomes. And I think that's been, for me personally, the mantra. Every single day that I spend in this industry, what can I do to alleviate the suffering along with everybody who works in this industry, one patient at a time.
Taking this thought ahead, when you said one patient at a time, now you've worked across markets, cultures. People may differ, thought processes may differ. As a leader, how have you been able to bring all of that together and push this one mantra that you stand by?
It's a very interesting journey for me personally because very early in my life, I got a chance to work in Korea.
Okay.
Even before K-pop became popular. So at the turn of the previous century, I got a chance. I relocated to Korea for a few years. And I was in my late 20s, and at a very early stage of my career, I saw the difference that execution makes. And then if you connect the dots between making that difference one patient at a time with agility and the scale and the depth of activities, I think that's what I picked up in Korea. Every country has taught me something different. The scale may change, the canvas may change, but at the core of it all boils down to how quickly can you come up with solutions, how much of an impact can you make both for healthcare practitioners at large, but also the wider patient community. And then, of course, the glue that binds all of us together is the engagement with the stakeholders, be it the regulators, because in every single country, every single geography that I've worked with, pharmaceuticals will continue to be a highly regulated industry because eventually
Absolutely.
you're dealing with people's health and lives. So, how do you involve, engage stakeholders, especially from the government agencies across the regulatory spectrum early on to find solutions? So I think that's something that I continue to unlock almost on a daily basis.
Nice. You spoke about your 3 decades of experience across geographies in this industry. If you could probably pick up, say, one moment in your leadership journey that changed the way you were looking at the market, or you were looking at a solution or therapy area, or you were looking at a problem, what would that be?
I think Asavari, there are many, and I can probably answer that question at two levels. One is in terms of the impact that it had on me, but also on my thinking over a period of time. I talked about this example of going to Korea, and I really learned the scale of execution there. It's all about getting that half glass full attitude on all the time.
Very nice.
And that's something that's a powerful multiplier in this industry, because at the end of the day, you're selling medicines, you're selling vaccines, you're involved with the manufacture of products that are consumed by patients. But in doing so, we shouldn't forget the empathy that's required. I think that's something that I picked
Very
up
nice.
very early. As you know, I have also had the chance to work in advanced markets like Belgium, and I think there I picked up the ability to work very closely with you know regulators, but also health technology assessment,
Okay.
where you have payers involved, where you have
Interesting.
you know different parts of the value stream which are equally responsible and not just the healthcare practitioner. So I think unlocking value across the value chain is something that I think India has been on that journey. Every time I've lived abroad and come back to India, I see India moving several notches up in terms of the evolution. So for me, I think if I were to summarize what you asked me, the scale and the depth of activities, and the pace, the agility at which we move is something that stayed with me.
Very nice. So, looking at India now as a geography, when you look at transformation, and you spoke about how when you were not in India, you were leading the company outside of India. When you came back, you saw that transformation in the market. Do you feel the market has matured now? And where do you see that maturity coming in? Be it in regulatory processes, be it in ease of doing business practices, be it on the innovation side. How would you map the Indian market today?
So I think, as I said, we've been on a improvement journey, and I think the last decade or so has seen some seismic shifts. Uh, and to begin with, even the regulatory side, um, our ability to therefore reduce the launch lag between what you see as launches in the Western world
Very true.
and getting those products launched in India, that lag is getting reduced very often to less than 12 months as well. And part of that is because the unlock that's happened on the global clinical trials. So I see a great synchronization between global companies, local regulators, and of course the trial centers to ensure that we are delivering the best possible uh, ecosystem to conduct those global clinical trials here, with the single intent of generating data, not just for the global setting, but also using that data locally for faster approval.
Well said. This year, OPPI's theme is the power of partnerships. Now, when you put that in the current global scenario, it becomes even more relevant when you have AI interlinkages, you have the current geopolitical scenarios working out. In this setup, how do you weigh partnerships? Do you look at them more from a transactional point of view even today, or do you feel they are now becoming strategic growth drivers for companies?
It's a great question, Asavari. And first of all, I want to compliment all the office bearers of OPPI, all the member companies uh, for celebrating the Diamond Jubilee. 60 years is not a small milestone, especially in a country where healthcare is still evolving as an ecosystem, And that's why the relevance of OPPI 60 years is even more significant. Uh, and that's because there have been leaders, past and present, who have seen an institutional way of looking at shaping the external landscape. And therefore, when you talk of partnerships, it's only natural that OPPI owns that space. The moral high ground on which I think OPPI set itself up 6 decades back, it was largely about connecting this purpose through partnerships. Uh, be it the distribution ecosystem for a vast nation of ours, be it the entire supply chain of including manufacturing operations. This couldn't have been possible unless member companies and the OPPI uh, put in a robust mechanism of shaping those partnerships in these last 6 decades. And I think that's at the core of everything that we've done. I think if you ask me personally, um, individually, member companies or even OPPI would do nothing unless you have the active support of the various actors in this whole ecosystem, starting with, of course, the government. I think over the last 6 decades, uh, whether it is really creating the ecosystem for manufacturing, now, of course, taking it to the next level through the global capability centers, the ministries have always been working closely with the OPPI, and I think to a large extent, therefore, it's rooted around the purpose as to why OPPI exists.
Absolutely.
So I think the power of partnerships as a theme is not only appropriate, but will also is the apt definition of how the next decade will pan out for the industry in general here.
So we'll move to the next decade for the industry. But if you could, as President OPPI, how have you seen the journey of OPPI over these past 6 decades?
Well, I mean, of course, I've seen as the president for the last couple of years, I've had the incredible privilege and honor of leading OPPI in its Diamond Jubilee year, along with the other office bearers and, of course, the executive committee. But when I reflect on the 6 decades of OPPI, incidentally, we have a small plaque on our ground floor because 1965, where we are sitting in this GSK Glaxo office, we have completed 100 years here.
Wow.
And OPPI had its inaugural meeting in 1965 in this office itself. So when I rummage through some of the memorabilia that's available, it just tells you what kind of tall leaders we've had in OPPI.
Very true.
We take great pride as a nation. Every time I stand up, I say with great pride, I say as an Indian first, that every third pill that's sold in the US or in Europe is made in India. And I think a part of that due credit has to go to OPPI for the simple reason that the entire manufacturing ecosystem was set up by member companies within the OPPI. If you go back and trace the history, a large part of the multinationals manufacturing ecosystem was set up in this country right from the 50s. Companies like ours still continue to manufacture, but
True.
we've had many member companies, including GSK, were the first example of Make in India. We've had a manufacturing facility in this very office in Worli right from 1928.
Wow.
So you can imagine that's the
Wow.
impact that we've created as an association. If you see the theme that we have for OPPI, which is the power of partnerships, and the underlying tagline of Bharat ke liye, really signifies what OPPI stands for.
Very well said.
When you look at 1965 and think about the population of our country, it was less than 500 million. And obviously, the journey of this nation to becoming a reliant nation in pharmaceuticals and medicines, where drug security is almost guaranteed right now to a large extent. It's largely because of what the member companies of OPPI have done. So I think we continue to help shape that dialogue across all stakeholders, including the local Indian industry. And I think that's the theme that will continue.
So with such a rich and impressive history of partnering with the right stakeholders and always keeping the patient at the core of all decision making, How do you foresee OPPI's role in the next, if I may say so, 6 decades, in the next
Yeah.
6 decades?
So clearly, things changed dramatically when we had there was a phase where there was patent infringement. All that changed, uh, where today every multinational that is that wants to launch its innovative assets and look at India as an important geography, not just for the size of the market, but to genuinely incubate the innovation ecosystem. India ticks all the boxes. I think the way I see the next couple of decades, uh, innovation will be at the core, because as the local domestic industry um, uh, you know moves from being the pharmacy of the world to the stated intent of becoming the research powerhouse, many of the individual companies will have to move up the ladder in terms of what we are doing on the R&D side. And I think that's where OPPI will have to continue to play a very relevant role, um, helping frame the right policies, not just in terms of predictability of pricing, but also protecting intellectual property.
Very
And
well
more
said.
importantly, at the core of it, uh, applies to everyone, not just to multinational companies operating here. Having a respect for regulatory data protection will be a core issue for us to ensure that not just for the companies that operate here, for the patients to gain access to these innovative medicines and vaccines, you will have to have a robust framework in place which protects the safety and efficacy data that innovative companies are generating. I think that's a dialogue, that's an engagement that OPPI will have to continue to drive and help shape with the stakeholders in the government. The second part is creation of the innovation ecosystem. Concurrently with the RDP, which is an important prerequisite, how do we ensure that these value creation centers or the GCCs really move up, including starting the wet labs here? Because if you think about capabilities, a large part of the work right
Interesting.
now in the pharma industry is happening on the biologic side.
Correct.
We are great as a country on the chemistry side. We know
Correct.
exactly what to do with small molecules, but when you look at peptides, biologics, the next wave of growth will come from these innovations. And I think I don't even want to compare India with other countries, because it would be futile to see where we are versus others. And in the spirit of that half glass full attitude, I think we need to put in the right infrastructure here. I think it's incumbent for, as I say, to all the member companies within the OPPI and all the GMs of our multinational group companies to continue to engage with the global stakeholders to get more innovation work happening in India through the GCCs. I think that's clearly the next holy grail for the industry, and more importantly for OPPI, because that will set up the tone and tenor for really getting innovative assets being discovered in India and not just made in India.
Very
So I
well
think
said.
that's where OPPI has to play a role, and I'm sure it will in the next, in this journey for the next couple of decades.
Very well said. Bhushan, you spoke about OPPI's increasingly important role in the coming decades. How do you see the pharma industry picking up? Like, what are the areas in which you see there will be quick growth? How do you see the pharma industry, picking itself up to make sure that they are able to reach that growth, whether it is on talent, whether it is on, you spoke about the right infrastructure. How do you see that panning out?
Well, I think we have a lot of work to do there. The reason I say that is, 3 decades back, as I was graduating from pharmacy school, or after that my business school, uh, I had made a choice that I wanted to come back in healthcare. But if you think about the graduating classes of today, the pharma industry today is competing with technology as a
Yes,
sector.
absolutely.
If you look at the leading edge AI companies, for a company that didn't even exist, Anthropic is valued almost at $1 trillion, and that's the biggest opportunity stroke challenge for us as pharma. How do we ensure that we are attracting the right talent? How do we ensure that these incredibly talented individuals are making healthcare and pharmaceuticals their industry of choice, and
Well
not
said.
not going into. So nothing wrong with the tech sector, but I think we also need to do appropriate things to attract that talent. And I think that's where there's a huge amount of work that we have to do as individual companies, as stakeholders, but more importantly, giving the promise of where that intersection lies between health and technology. A clear understanding of that and articulation of what it means for this industry for the next 2 decades. I think that's what will drive. So those are the high growth areas I see. I see the intersection of technology and biology as the next massive unlock. We are already seeing that in significant areas. If you look at where oncology is today, gone is the era where oncologists were depending only on chemotherapy drugs. Today's world is all about precision medicine, targeted therapies, antibody drug conjugates with this whole concept of payload, just as you have targeted missiles. And I think if that's the place where the world is heading, are we even having our university curriculum getting aligned with those requirements?
So, Bhushan, to the young professionals who have actually chosen pharmacy to be their first career choice, what would be your advice to them today?
One, you made the right choice. So I would first of all congratulate every single individual who chooses the healthcare stroke pharmaceuticals industry for a couple of reasons. One, I always say that we all work for a sense of accomplishment.
True.
And there is no other industry that can create that sense of fulfillment on a daily basis, because every day when I go to sleep, I know I made a meaningful difference in saving somebody's life. Because at the end of the supply chain, there is one patient whose life we are impacting in a significant manner. And imagine that becomes a part of your daily job. There can't be a better sense of fulfillment there. So I think that's the first reason. This industry is all about making a meaningful difference to individual patients, as I say, one patient at a time. So there can't be a bigger sense of purpose. The second one is, if you just think about the way technology is changing things dramatically, and at the core of everything, when individuals are living longer, they are living healthier lives. So if you just see, even in a country like India, our average life expectancy is in the mid 70s now, and if you go to the metropolitan areas, people are living easily till the mid 80s, and that will only improve.
True.
So the impact that this industry will have to make at both ends of the spectrum, with the 20-25 million babies that are born in India, plus the almost the 11-12% of our population that's right now more than 60 years. Both ends of the spectrum, you have enough and more to do. So I think finding the reasons to make lives much more meaningful through newer ways of working, new therapy areas. A lot is changing dramatically in the next 10 years. If you look at every single area, and I'm not talking only about obesity and GLP-1 drugs. There can't be a more exciting future. So that's the second reason. The pace at which we are seeing the acceleration happening, be it in cardiovascular disease, be it in oncology, it's an exciting time to be in this industry. And third, as I said, I always believe that whenever and whichever country you are in, and I speak from my personal experience, healthcare will always be at the core of the wealth of the nation is directly proportional to the health of the nation. So regardless of where you are, the ability of you as an individual to impact things at scale are enormous in this sector. So I think those three reasons are very powerful reasons why you should stay committed to the pharmaceutical industry, and try and leverage more of technology. I think that's something that I would probably even urge. I'm still learning everything from scratch. I still keep learning new things almost on a daily basis now in agentic AI. And I think if that's the direction of travel, there can't be a more exciting space than the pharma industry. So I would just ask everyone to who's choosing this industry or who hasn't chosen, to really make pharmaceuticals the choice because there's a lot to be unlocked here.
True, well said. So before we close, time now for a human dose. A quick rapid fire. Bhushan, very quickly then, what's your favorite book?
These days, my current go-to book is the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. So I think that's my favorite book right now.
Okay, nice. Your favorite film?
Without a doubt, Three Idiots.
Okay.
Regardless of how many times I've seen it, I always like to see it again and again.
How do you unwind?
Music and history. So I'm a huge buff of podcasts.
If you wouldn't have been in pharma, what would you have done or where would you have been?
Oh, that's a good one. I think I would have still liked to be. So I don't live in the past. I like to be in the present moment. But if I was not in pharma, probably I would have been in the restaurant business.
Interesting.
I would love to start my own restaurant.
Wow. Bhushan, thank you for joining us and sharing your insights. If there's one thing that stands out from this conversation, it's that partnerships are not just working together, but they are about thinking together. Partner with purpose, progress with impact. To our viewers, this was the inaugural episode of the Pharma Frontiers by OPPI, where collaboration meets innovation to shape the future of healthcare. See you in the next episode. Namaste.